Hello, my dear LSs. Welcome to this first part of the introduction into EPSA's finances for LSs. I decided to pre-record this part in order to save you some time and save us some time during the meeting that we have ahead online. By now you should have received the invitation for this meeting by reading this email and by opening this link that you got, and I hope to see you all there. I really recommend to go to this recording in order to understand a bit more about EPSA's finances. Go through it in your own pace. It's not too difficult, but I get that sometimes it might seem a bit difficult, and that's why I wanted to pre-record this in order for you to go through this in your own pace. The content of this pre-recorded first part is firstly a little introduction. Secondly, we will talk about the finances and the basic principles of finances. The third part will be the biggest part and will be regarding the regulations, so the terms of reference and the standing orders in relation to the finances of EPSA. This will mainly be regarding paragraph 22 and all the subsections that it has. Lastly, I'll just briefly highlight what documents you can expect in the General Assembly package that you will receive hopefully soon. Firstly, who are we? I am Kai Timmer, I'm the treasurer of EPSA. I'm currently a 5th year pharmaceutical master student at the University of Groningen, and it's an honor for me to occupy this position in such a wonderful association as EPSA. But I do not do it alone. I have huge support and help of my dearest Audit Committee, who have the task to audit, so they will conduct the official financial inspection of EPSA, and they will oversee the finances, the auditing procedures, they will check the budgets, and they will provide statements during the General Assembly. This Audit Committee consists out of Johanna Kindrup, she is from Germany, and Ola Tomaszczyk, and she is from Gdansk in Poland. Lastly, obviously, our dearest parliamentarian that always oversees us if we stick to the regulations is Nina Wissing, and she's from Germany. Before starting this, I want to emphasize that you should never ever hesitate to contact one of us if you have any questions regarding finances. You can find our email addresses in our signatures on the website, and don't be shy to reach out to us regarding it. Firstly, some general financial information. Well, regarding the day-to-day basis, obviously we are based in Brussels, in Etterbeek, at Rue de Cornet 5. You can see here the EPSA house. Our IBAN, so our international bank account number, is BE38 001637 2221772. We also have a bank identification code for international transfers. I will not even try to pronounce this, but you can copy paste it if you ever need it. The basic principles of finances are actually these. So finances is the money or liquid resources of a government, business, group, association, or individual. The main principle is that the net income is the income minus the outcome. I will later explain these terms to you, but I think they are quite logical to deduce. The income is everything you get in, and outcome is all the expenses. That's basically very basic said. If one makes profit, it means that the amount of money that has come in exceeds the expenses, so we have a profit. Suppose the outcome exceeds the income, so we spend more than that we earn, we will have a loss. Another important thing to remember is that the equity plus the liability are the assets. I will come back to each of these terms in the next slide, or the next slides, so please stay tuned. Firstly, accounting. Accounting is the process of recording financial transaction pertaining to a business, in this case, our association EPSA. The financial statements that are used in accounting are summaries of financial transaction over a certain accounting period. This will summarize the operations, financial position, and cash flow of EPSA. Think about these statements as, for example, the budget. What will come up is the budget amendment, the budget comparison, financial intermediate reports, financial intermediate balance reports. These kinds of reports are all part of this. Coming back to the terms that I used on the last slide, an asset is basically an economic resource that is owned and that represents a positive economic value. A liability are the sacrifices or duties that are made towards an other identity than ourselves, in this case other than EPSA. An equity is the portion of assets, so the portion of economic resource owned that represents a positive economic value, the total of that is owned by us as EPSA, for example. The income is the money earned from products or services, and outcome is the capital spent to produce goods and services. If you remember, the net income, so the net, is the income minus the outcome. So the money earned from products or services minus the capital spent to produce goods and services. Again, a profit is when the money earned from products or services exceeds the capital spent to produce goods and services, and a loss is when the capital spent is bigger than the money earned from products or services. I want to maybe highlight this a bit with a small example. I recently decided a career switch, and due to my love of coffee, I said well, let's go for it. I will open a beautiful coffee corner in the heart of Groningen, my beautiful city. My income from my beautiful coffee corner, called Kai's Fabulous Coffee Corner, will be the money my coffee corner earns by selling products. So for example, in 1 month, my coffee corner makes 5,000 euros from selling delicious coffee and fresh baked snacks. The outcome of my coffee corner would be the money I spent on running my coffee corner. So I spent 2,000 euros the last month for fresh, beautiful coffee beans from South America, milk, soy milk, whatever, the rent of the building, and of course the wages for my beautiful staff. This is defined as the outcome of my coffee corner. When I look at my assets, it's all the things that I have in my coffee shop that have value. So think about my beautiful coffee machine, the authentic tables, the pots and the pans that I use, the curtains, the lamps, whatever. So in this case, I have a coffee machine of 1,000 euros, tables and chairs of 500, and 2,000 euros on the bank. The liabilities would then be the debts or obligations that my coffee corner owns to someone else than me, than our coffee corner. So for example, I took a loan of 1,500 euros to buy the coffee machine and the furniture. The equity would be the value of the assets I own after subtracting the liabilities. The equity actually represents the ownership of my coffee corner. The equity equals the assets minus the liabilities. So in this case, the 3,500 euros minus the 1,500 euros, which will give me an equity of 2,000 euros. I hope that I hereby explained you some basic financial terms that might be from use when understanding EPSA's finances or finances in general. So I hope it is somehow useful. I now want to come to the difference between an invoice and a receipt. There's often some confusion about it, so I want to make it clear for all. An invoice is a request for payment. So when I send an invoice to a member association for the membership fee, it's a request for their payment of the membership fee. So it's to ensure that the business gets paid. You can see on the right hand side that an explanation of an invoice. It will always include the stamp of EPSA or a signature. It will describe the amount that needs to be paid, the term that it needs to be paid in, the company or association that it needs to be issued to, the country, but also the account beneficiary of EPSA, so the bank, and the international bank transfer number and the SWIFT number. A receipt, on the other hand, is a proof of payment. So you already have paid, and this is the proof of it. I use this sheet also to the team, and it's always important for them to make it clear and uncrumbled. But for you, the most important thing to know is the who. So who paid it, at what time, from what store or from what company, and the amount with a specification, as you can see on the left hand side. So for example, when you go to the supermarket and you decide to buy some crackers or bananas or whatever, you will receive a receipt. It's a little thing you can remember: receive, receipt. It starts both with the same first letters: receive, receipt. For the team, it's mandatory for reimbursement, and usually it is mandatory for reimbursement also in other associations. Now I want to guide you quickly through torso and finances. So I will guide you step by step through the regulations, and I want to explain all the different sections to you. Do note that I will not highlight everything from paragraph 22. The sections of the board expenses, so that's a little section what is eligible for the board to have as expenses. So for example, for materials or postal expenses, printing expenses, I will skip here. And also the RC fund, article 22.8, since 22.9, correct me, because the reception fund will be updated. It's already a little spoiler for you in the working statement that's going on, and you will see it in the package of the GA, and you can always ask questions during the online meeting. So to start off, the general information about financial information about EPSA is highlighted in article 22.1. It summarizes basically as that the official currency of EPSA is the euro. So we always use euro, even if you pay in another currency, it always needs to be transferred to euro. Our income comes mainly from the contribution from the members via membership fees, individual membership fees, subsidies, and other donations. The financial year of EPSA runs from August the 1st, in this case August 1st, 2024, till July the 31st, 2025. Me, the treasurer, will manage the accounts reports to various bodies and submit the financial report at the General Assembly. I'll provide regular updates to the Audit Committee, and I'll try to manage the budget amendment. All financial obligations from EPSA require approval and signatures from the President and another executive member, preferably the treasurer. And the accounts are audited by the Audit Committee and available to specific EPSA members with financial responsibility limited to EPSA's assets. And as you know, assets I explained earlier, so it comes back handy to recall this definition. As I said, I want to skip article 22.2, the board expenses, and I will go straight ahead to the team fund, because the team fund is a very important fund for the team as well, because we all try our best to do our work for EPSA, and the team fund is basically there to exist to financially support team members in fulfilling their duties as laid out in the regulations. These expenses will be collected from the mandate in a spreadsheet called the team fund spreadsheet that I share with all of them, and they have to provide preferably the receipts, so receivable receipts. The team fund covers basically the traveling up to a certain percentage of the team member towards EPSA event. So in this case, the first team meeting in Malta, the second team meeting in Plovdiv, Bulgaria, since the General Assembly will be, and also, for example, we already know in France for the third team meeting, and for the others we still have to see. but by then the open call will be opened. The team fund is divided into two portions. It will be paid back to the team member after the third team meeting and after the sixth team meeting. The first portion will be up till 60% of the cost by a team member up and until the third team meeting, and the second portion the following formula applied, which is a very difficult formula maybe, but it's basically explained as the expenses of a team member during the mandate, so during the whole mandate from the first till the sixth team meeting, divided by the expenses of all team members during the mandate, so basically you divide a part by the whole, times the amount that we have in the team fund. We subtract from that amount that is reimbursed in the first portion. The team fund is important to highlight that the team fund is fluid, so sometimes we take money out of it if necessary, and suppose EPSA is in financial danger, the team fund is the first fund that will be cut in. Also, it's not a given that it should be paid back completely. In the regulations it's stated that the team fund said 60% closest to 60% shall be attributed, but it's all limited by the capacity that we have in the team fund. So suppose we do not have enough money to cover all of the expenses, then each team member will receive a percentage, and that's usually what happens, because we will not prioritize the team fund over any other crucial funds that are very important for EPSA as well. The team members have several tools for this. They have a receipt folder where they can put the receipts, called the reference folder, and they use Podio for that. Podio is the management tool that EPSA uses for public relations and administrative tasks such as expenses. Important for team members always to remember is that they have to spend less and more percentage reimbursed. So therefore we also have stated the auditing guidelines. So the audit committee will always check if the cheapest option is obviously done, in order to have more reimbursement for the whole of the team. Because if you as individual team member have less expenses, then in the end there will be more reimbursed. The team fund auditing guidelines were approved, the updated one, last GA in Prague. And just as a little summary of that, that the team fund usually starts 1 month and 2 weeks before the team meeting. They will submit the travel proposal into the management tool that we have until the deadline that is announced by me. After they submit their auditing form there, the audit committee has a week to audit and to investigate if it's really the cheapest option. And after they approve, the team member has 7 days to book the tickets. It can also be that the audit committee does not approve, and in that case, that the audit committee does not approve the proposal, the audit committee comes up with another proposal that is the cheapest, and then that amount that the audit committee finds is the binding amount. So suppose a team member wants to book something more expensive, fine, for that team member they can do it, but the only reimbursable amount is the amount that is found by the audit committee. Then they add their team fund, the receipt to the team fund sheet by the deadline that is also communicated by me, and it's usually after the third team meeting. Below you find a little example, you can look through it, but I don't deem it that relevant for now. We also have a representation fund. This is, out of the tip of my head, Article 22.4, and this representation fund basically supports team members in fulfilling their duties at external events of stakeholders or partners of us, or other very important institutions that can have relevance for EPSA. And this fund is part of the annual budget and requires GA approval. The representatives are selected by the executive, so they will submit a POA and can be reimbursed 50% of expenses upfront. The report of the representation funds needs to be approved by the General Assembly, so by you guys, and this will also be a part of the agenda, of course, and after that the expenses are reimbursed. Also, again, this fund is audited via the auditing guidelines, so also here the Audit Committee will state a statement regarding whether it's the cheapest option for traveling or not. When we go to section 5, we have a support fund as EPSA, as you all are quite familiar with, I assume. And the support fund is mainly for members who are not in the financial position to attend an EPSA event. It completely aligns with the vision that we have of bringing pharmacy, knowledge and students together. So therefore this fund is also very important, and I also really want to highlight it here. The procedure is usually that there is an application form to the Vice President of Internal Affairs before the deadline, which will be set by the executive. The deadline for these registration forms for the support fund will be set before the registration period of the respective EPSA event is opened, but always the executive can accept late applications, but only under special circumstances. The amount of the support fund usually not exceeds half of the participation fee in the first registration period. So it's 50% of the participation fee. Suppose the registration fee for the General Assembly was 230 euros, so the support fund will give back 115 euros. But how is it financed? Well, it's financed, this whole support fund. It's funded by money collected during the event by auction or raffle, be it a silent auction or a loud auction. The loud auction is during International Night. The silent auction is present every day on the tables, and donations, of course. So I really encourage you all also to bring something for the auction and raffle, because it only helps our support fund members. The support fund will only be granted to one participant per country who is applying to become an associate member. So suppose your association wants to become an associate member and is applying for it on the GA, only one participant per country can get that. And it's paid in the form of a deposit, and the additional tasks can be assigned to the receiver during the event. There are several limitations as well to this. One support fund applicant can never be given more than 2 EPSA support fund contributions, and no more than 1 per event. So that means that you can maximally have 2 support fund contributions during your whole EPSA career. So you can only be part of the support fund for 2 events. As said, we can assign additional tasks to the support fund recipients, which will be EPSA related. And also very important is that usually support fund recipients must be present at least 80% of the event's programs, monitored by Eventbrite. And regarding the support fund, that's basically it. It's just a very good initiative from my side that I really like, and I would also emphasize to bring something for the auction and raffle for the GA. Section 22.6 is regarding the visiting members fund, and maybe you all have received a representative from EPSA side at your congress, at your event from your national association, and that usually is via the visiting members fund. A visiting members fund exists to financially support team members in the form of direct reimbursement for visiting member associations of EPSA, and the main aim will be a balanced distribution of visits to member association. This will usually go also through the Vice President of Internal Affairs, who opens the call, and maximally 2 team members can be reimbursed. This reimbursement procedure will follow almost the same as for the team fund. Firstly, the team member proposes it via the management tool that I earlier highlighted, then the audit committee will say whether it's cheaper or not. Then that amount that is the cheapest will be eligible, and then team member can book it, has 7 days for it, and then goes to the VMF. Additionally, at the last GA it was voted that a maximum of €5 per meal can be reimbursed, and usually it's reimbursed after submission of the report. There are several limitations to this fund as well. So, for example, up to 100% of the costs up to €200 will be reimbursed, 75% for additional costs between €200 and €400, and 50% up till 50% of the remaining costs above €400. So suppose someone spends a certain amount, let's say, well, what should we say, €350. That means that from that €350 that they spent, at least, well, for sure, €200 will get reimbursed. So that's the 100% of the costs up till €200. This means that there is still €150 left, because 350 minus 200 is €150. Of that €150, 75% gets reimbursed, which means €112.50. So if you add it all up together, it's 200 euros plus the €112.50, which comes to a total of €312.50. This means that if a team member has an expense for a VMF of €300, €350, excuse me, let me rephrase this correctly. Suppose a team member has an expense of €350 for a visiting members fund, then of that €350, a total of €312.50 will be reimbursed. I hope you can follow it. Next to that, we have a trainer's travel fund, which is Article 22.7 or Section 22.7, how you want to call it. It's usually there to support trainers with their travel reimbursement for delivering trainers to EPSA member associations. Any trainer or senior trainer can apply and will be approved by the EPSA executive. Expenses are again reimbursed after submission of invoices and reports after the training. And here goes a similar thing. Up to 100% of the cost, up to €150, up to 75% for any cost between €150 and €300. So let's do it again. Suppose a trainer has an expense of €200. They want to provide a training to, let's say, BPHD Germany, for example, and their expenses for traveling was €200. Then €150 of the €200 will be 100% reimbursed, so that's €150. But then there's €50 left of the €200. This €50 gets reimbursed for 75%, which means that from this €50, €37.50 will be reimbursed. So if you count that all up, so from the €150 there will be €150 reimbursed. From the leftover €50 from the €200, 75% will be reimbursed, which comes to a total of €37.50 plus the €150, which means that if a trainer has an expense of €200, they will be reimbursed with €187.50. Now a section that might be very relevant for you, because you might have received it in your email box last year, or you will receive it in your email box by December, January. It's regarding the membership fees. The membership fees are annually reviewed by the General Assembly at the Autumn Assembly, or in this case at the 68th General Assembly in Prague. Because all EPSA members will pay an annual membership fee, and they will it's calculated by the formula that is stated here. I will explain it a bit later on. As EPSA treasurer, I shall give you notice of any changes proposed by us 4 weeks prior to the beginning of the autumn assembly. And very important, the member nations are ranked via the annual World Bank list of economies according to its classifications. And you see some acronyms here. As stated here, the income factor is correlated to the gross national income per capita. The income factor is abbreviated as IF in the formula. As you can see, it's the second portion of the equation, and it is divided in 4 categories. Firstly, HIC stands for high income country. The income factor for that is 23. UMIC stands for upper middle income country with an income factor of 14. LMIC stands for lower middle income country with an income factor of 6. And LIC stands for low income country with an income factor of 1. Next to the income factor, you can also see a factor B, which is the basic fee, and at this moment it is 18 euros. It's usually changed or prone to amendments in the General Assembly. The other factor is the NF, stands for number factor, and it depends on the size of the association. I will not go through all that one by one, but you can see it on the right hand side that it really depends on how much students you represent, on how high the number factor and the multiplication factor is. Do note that associated members pay 75% of the calculated fee, so that means that the membership fee shall only be paid by 75%, and the minimum fee is regulated at 190 euros. There are some deadlines for you that are very, very important to remember. Firstly, that the membership fee usually is paid 1 week prior to the beginning of the first ordinary General Assembly of the calendar year, so in this case during the annual Congress in France, by bank transfer to the EPSA account. The EPSA account information you can find on the first slide. It can also be paid by cash, but that only if it's consulted at least 3 weeks before the beginning of the first ordinary General Assembly of the calendar year, and it shall be completed by the beginning of the General Assembly. If this condition is not met, the member association is in arrears for the year, which is basically that you owe EPSA, you become a debitor. Usually, if the membership fee paid late, an extra 20% of the original membership fee will be applied if the association fails to pay the membership fee 1 week prior to the beginning of the General Assembly. So an extra 20%. Suppose the member association do not pay by the 30th of June, they will be charged an amount of an extra 40% of the original membership fee. So the basic message is that just pay in time. Lastly, there is a list of financial documents that will be submitted to the GA package, and this is the list of it. So firstly, the budget amendment. This means the prospective budget for 24-25, but including certain amendments or changes compared to the budget that was proposed at the 67th GA in Prague. The updated debitors and creditors list, the budget comparison between last mandate and the proposed one for this mandate, the final financial report of last mandate, the intermediate balance report, and very important also the financial report of the autumn assembly in Alcalá de Henares in Spain. So credits to them for their amazing event once again. it was memorable, and I hope and I will guide them to also finalize this report good. Lastly, what will be discussed during the online meeting that we will have together? Firstly, it will be a little recapitulation, so I will recapitulate certain things from this recording, also for you to memorize again, if you didn't have the time to watch it. The financial documents for the 6HA, I will go through them one by one. If you have any question, you can always ask me there. It will be a Q&A session, it will be very interactive. Don't hesitate to come there. I would really appreciate if you come, because I would love to see all your beautiful faces there, and also prepare for the GA together in that sense. And I will also give you little instructions on how to analyze them, because maybe that's also a little thing that you might struggle with, how to analyze a budget. So that's all that I want to discuss during the meeting that I will schedule with you during this meeting. And for now, we reach the end of this recording. I hope it was a bit informative. Know that you can always reach me or the Audit Committee regarding any questions of finances. My email address is treasure@epsaonline.org, or you can text me personally, it's also fine, whatever you desire. Again, if you have any questions, reach out. I'm looking forward to see you all, and yeah, hope to see you soon during the meeting, and goodbye for now.